I've been quite vociferous in my objections to any suggestions of closure of the Welshpool Airbase, as many of you have in this room this evening. I've had the advantage of attending other sessions that have been presented by the group that are before us tonight, so I do have that advantage over us. But the first thing I want to do is to welcome Stephen and the team here to Welshpool tonight. I don't want you to feel that you are facing some kind of protest group, because that's the exact opposite of what we are here tonight. We are mainly Welshpool people, or people from the Welshpool area. This is our home, and we have welcomed the Welsh Air Ambulance into our home for many, many years, and many of us in this room tonight have supported the Welsh Ambulance, Welsh Air Ambulance, both financially and in other ways, for many, many years. So we are concerned people about the way things are going to move forward.
A couple of introductions for people I've got with me this evening. So I have colleagues from both the EMERS service and from the Air Ambulance charity. So I'm going to walk over to this side of the room and I can ask them to introduce themselves. David.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening. I'm David Lockie. I'm the National Director for EMERS, a job I've had the privilege of doing for 5 years. I've worked on other UK air ambulances for 25 years now, and also in the military. I'm an NHS consultant in intensive care medicine, and I just stopped being the chairman of the Faculty of Pre-Hospital Care, the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, which is the body that oversees standards and training in pre-hospital emergency medicine. And thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, David. Steve?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Steve. I work for the Wales Air Ambulance charity. I think privilege is the right word. That's exactly the word that I would use when I describe working for the charity. Really pleased to be here today with two of our senior trustees. Can I use the word senior and not get... long-standing trustees. We have Dr. Cllr, who is the Vice Chair of Trustees for Wales Air Ambulance Charity. And we have Stephen Curtis, who is one of the senior members of the trustees, but is also chair of the Finance Committee within the trustee board. So we're delighted that both have travelled here today to do what we're all going to do, which is listen and answer questions when we can. And I think just on behalf of the charity and on behalf of the trustees, I'd like to say thank you to every one of you for the passion that you've shown towards the charity, not just in the last sort of 6 to 8 months, but continuously over the years since our inception 22 years ago now. We take our commitment to our supporters very seriously, and within that we have a duty to ensure that our service is delivered in the best way possible and the most equitable way possible for the people of Wales. And we already know as a charity, as a service, that we deliver the highest standard of care that we can with the resources we had. There was a review undertaken on the medical part of the service last year, and that proved that the service is saving more lives than it ever has done before, and people are living longer and healthier lives after they've been treated with us. So we know that we deliver excellent care. So the next question that we ask, particularly as a charity, is, okay, we know we deliver excellent care, but are as many people as possible benefiting from that care? And is it being delivered in the most equitable way possible? And these are the natural questions that we as a charity feel that we need to ask, to make sure that we're making the best use of the public donations that you give to us. It's very easy to ask those questions as a charity, but what we don't have is the ability to answer those questions. We don't have the information, we don't have the resources to be able to answer those questions. And that's why we are incredibly grateful to our NHS colleagues, both EMERS, not just the incredible medical provision that the medics supply, but also the work that they do behind the scenes to make sure that we do deliver the best possible medical care. But also we'd like to thank the Commissioner and his team for the huge amount of effort and resource that they're putting into this to be able to answer a question that basically lies on the premise of seeing if we can do better and if we can deliver a better service for people in Wales. So Thank you very much for attending this evening. It's a beautiful evening, but you've chosen to come here tonight, which again just demonstrates how passionate you are about our service, and it's something that we will always be eternally grateful for, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, David. Thanks, colleagues. The format of the session, we're recording the session. Reason we're doing that is to make sure I don't miss anything. And if anybody wants to get the recording, please let us know and we'll let you have a copy of it, just if anybody's interested in that. So, what we're all trying to do here is trying to think about the best way of trying to get to that 3. And in doing that, what we need to make sure about is that we're using the current resources as well as it's possible to use them. And invariably, what that gets you into is a discussion about have we got the resources based in the right area or not. On the data, we are starting afresh with the data, and what we're doing is we're using as long a reference period for data as we possibly can. We're going to take into account weather conditions because we know that was a concern, and we're also going to take into account seasonal variation in that data as well. And I will make as much of the data available as I'm able to do. What I can't make is personally identifiable information available, but I can make data available, and we'll do that. Is that okay now? Right. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So, gentleman seconding. You said?
Thank you. I'm in a different category to Graham Breeze. Everybody knows Graham Breeze. Nobody knows me. I'm actually Councillor Bill Pritchard from Welshpool, and I'm very despondent in what you're saying, young man. I think the big mistake is always the same mistake. Look after the A55 corridor and look after the M4 corridor, and to hell with what goes on in the middle. And that's what's happening here. Let me say about the air ambulance, it's a superb service. Absolutely brilliant. But it's been built up over the years between your side and Welshpool Airport and all the facilities and all the help that everybody's given and everything else. You're going to take it all away, aren't you? That's what's going to happen. If you want to really improve the system and this, that, and the other, go get the Welsh Assembly to give us 10 more aircraft, right? It's not going to work the way you're talking. I'm sorry, you are going to fail. And I make no bones about it. You are going to fail. Because the system we've got now looks after our people in mid-Wales. Very rural area, but I'm sorry, what you suggested is not going to give the same service. And I, for one, I have to tell you, I've done the lottery ever since it started, paying out money every month to the lottery. I shan't give another penny to the air ambulance if it goes from here, because we're all satisfied with it. Everybody in this area is really satisfied with it. Why should somebody else come along and take the whole damn thing away? Sorry, I speak from the other side. I'm here to look after the people of Welshpool and the area, and that area goes right across Aberystwyth and back to here and everywhere in mid-Wales. And you're talking about taking it away. Sorry, it's not going to work. I cannot support what you're saying. You're looking at everything here. You're talking about all these equations and this and the other. Yeah, okay. You know, if I want to, I can sit down and I can draw up a scheme and I can address these people here and I can convince them that I'm right. Doesn't mean that what I'm saying is right. Because quite honestly, it will not work. It will not give the same satisfactory service that it is now. The staff you've got, absolutely superb. The facilities you've got, superb. Don't take it away. Because I don't know even who you are. But I know one thing, if you take it away, I'll never see you again. And that's what will happen to this town and this area. And I'm sorry, we deserve more. Forget the M4 corridor, forget the A55 corridor, and start to think about Wales in its entirety. Thank you very much.
where will the decision be made? Will it be by the delivery assurance group?
No, it'll be made by the committee, which is all of the health boards.
Right, okay. The second point really was looking at some of the data, which we agree is not necessary, but what I couldn't understand looking at the data in detail is why so many call-outs from the Cardiff South Wales helicopters came to Mid Wales when the Welshpool base is supposed to be underutilised. I mean, I've got figures, 156 calls in 1 year, and that was outside the nighttime operational aspect. So that just contradicts that aspect of Welshpool being. And the other question was the existence of this map of North Wales, which shows where the real problem is, around the Denby area, and you're fixing a problem in Denby at our expense. And the fourth final point was one thing I heard mentioned about the road network. The other thing is the golden hour, where the first initial response is important. And Powys is probably the worst in Wales in terms of mobile reception. So the first trigger point for the red 999 call is delayed by lack of mobile coverage. So that already eats into that golden hour. So I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I'll try and pick up.
Thanks. You made some really good points there, and you talked about the Cardiff aircraft coming up here. And we're not running a regional air ambulance, we're running a national service. And when you're actually sitting in the control room deciding which asset can get there first, that's what happens. That's why the majority of cases dealt with by the Welshpool ambulance are dealt with outside Paris. I did a shift this week earlier, and I came to Mid Wales twice from Llanelli. So it's very dynamic, and the person on the desk, the CCP, critical care paramedic, is looking at where the mission is and who can get to it first. And it's very fluid and dynamic about the weather, who's on where, which resource we want to meet the needs of the particular patient. And so it doesn't work that one air ambulance does all the stuff in that region and another one does in that region. Basically, we've got 4 assets, one at night, and we move them around accordingly. In terms of the golden hour is a very old concept and it's pretty much outdated now. We want to get the right resources to the right patient at the right time, and a lot of the things that we were looking at that golden hour for are what we're there for. So it might be, as the gentleman was saying here, putting someone to sleep, protecting their airway, maybe doing surgical things, operations on people to a limited extent that are time critical. And what we're trying to do is to get, if you can't get the patient to the hospital within a particular time, it's not really an hour, because there's no difference between 59 minutes and 63 minutes. There's nothing magical about that time at all. And only some of the things that we go to are time critical, even if they're very serious. So it's more complicated than it seems. But I think one of the most important things is that we've got these 4 assets, and we're extremely lucky that we've got these 4 assets, and we're moving them around dynamically to meet your requirements. And as we've said before, the majority of the jobs done by the Welshpool ambulance are outside Paris, and it's around 40% of the jobs within Paris are dealt with by air ambulances from the north or the south.
I'm just surprised if Welshpool is allegedly underutilised as all the information we've received so far.
It is.
Then why is it not available more of the time?
It's because Paris, as you know, is a big place. So if you're looking at the south part of Paris or the north part of Paris, it might well be the resources on the borders of those are quicker to get to the job. And as Stephen said earlier, we have 2 types of resources. We have a double critical care paramedic resource, and we have a consultant paramedic resource. And at any one time, 2 of the resources are double CCP and 2 of them have consultants on. So for a particular type of incident, we might want the other resource to go to that, particular mission.
So to a certain, from a strategic point of view, then the Welshpool base being in a central position gives you more flexibility in response time to other areas in Wales.
So, well, no, not necessarily. No, not necessarily. And in fact, the proposal we're looking at will give you a service at night, which you don't have at the moment.
Why?
Well, we want equity, that's we
Yeah, I know, and that's what this proposal aims to deliver. Yeah, because at the moment, the only chance of you getting resource at night, an air resource, are from Cardiff. With the new proposal, you'd have an option of 2 resources rather than 1.
So it will come down to money. It's funding at the end of the day. If we had the course, if we had the 24-hour service from Welshpool with a high-skilled medical staff, that would be the perfect answer for us. That's what we want. So we need to look at how we get it, really.
I'm happy to look at that as an option, sir. So if you're saying another option I need to consider is put the 24-hour resource available in Welshpool and then see what that does in terms of coverage, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to look at that as an option. What we're also going to do is we're going to look at how resources are mobilised at the moment, just to make sure that they're mobilised in the right way, that we're getting the best out of those, and can we improve upon those.
Okay, my name's Sue Smith, and I am fortunate enough to have been airlifted up to Consultation Hospital from the airport base in Welshpool. My question is, why can we not have a 24-hour service or have 2 aircraft fly from the Welshpool base?
Okay. In terms of, I've already said that I'll look at an option 12/24/7. Yeah. If we've got 2 aircraft flying from 1 base, that means you have to have 3 bases across Wales, not 4 bases across Wales, because we've got 4 aircraft. So I can look at variations of that, but I'll definitely look at the 24-hour point that you made. Okay.
Very serious accident after being on his bike, and he obviously had it in a very rural area between Llangollen and Lake Thurnley. There was no signal around that area. The people who reported the incident had to go to a nearby house, and luckily, with the help of the air ambulance, instead of having to wait over an hour to get to soak in and out normal ambulance, he got there in 20 minutes. So he's very lucky enough to be happy and healthy today. And the biggest worry I have is closing the Welshpool branch and closing the Newtown will leave Mid Wales very vulnerable, as it's very important to have it right here. And I understand there's a lot to think about with this kind of situation, but I feel like building the service up with more rapid response vehicles and with more time to the different areas. For the different bases to operate would definitely build more rather than take away.
Yes. Thank you. Really important points you make, so thank you very much for making them. Can I just reiterate one thing I've said already, which is, if at the end of doing what we're doing, it would mean that your brother wouldn't have got the service that he got, then I failed. Okay? So I have no intention of doing that. So second thing, I think you make a really important point around the number of resources that we've got, and trying to take those rural and urban issues into account. So that's a really important point that you've made there. I think I've got the point that you made, is that right? Yeah. So we'll do that.
Okay, just for the camera, can you tell me who you are and what you are?
Councillor Graham Breeze, the Powys County Councillor for Welshpool Airport Ward.
I'm Stephen Harrhy, I'm the Chief Ambulance Service Commissioner for Wales.
Graham, you were at the Newtown meeting, brilliant turnout there, bigger turnout here in Welshpool, the home of the Wales Air Ambulance. How do you think tonight went?
Well, I thought it was a great opportunity for everybody to express their views and to hear what's happening, and I thought there's been a great turnout in the first meeting, and I think we're going to have another good turnout again, so it can only be good for the people of this area to know exactly what's happening.
Good. Steve, I understand that you may now be scrapping the first load of data and you're going to start all over again, is that right?
We received a proposal some time ago. What I've agreed is that we need to start afresh. So we will run We will look at a range of options to look at how we can best deliver air ambulances for the people of the whole of Wales, taking local communities' needs into account, which is why opportunities like I've had tonight, to listen to the passion, to listen to the real intensity that there is in this local population, and their real and genuine interest in the service is really important for me, and I've heard some very important points this evening.
Graham, we've heard an awful lot of views over the last 2 meetings, a lot of it very constructive. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Steve to really decide on which way to go here. What do you think of this, Graham?
Well, I think he has an awful lot of work to do, and I certainly don't envy him the task ahead, but I hope he's listening. I hope he's hearing what people are saying. I hope he's understanding how important this base is to the people of Welshpool and the people of Powys and the people of Mid Wales.
Great. Well, finally, Steve, I understand that your final meeting is planned back in Newtown, and then you'll be probably giving us a last brief before you made your decision. Is that right?
I'm undertaking an engagement in 2 stages. The first stage is to listen, to make sure I take everything into account. Once we've got a potential preferred option, I'll then come back out to local communities and give people an opportunity to listen to that and give me their comments on that, and then you're right. We'll then take that forward to the East Committee for a decision.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your exclusive interviews. Much appreciated, and look forward to seeing you again. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.